Greetings, Benjamin J. from BENZTRAINZ with another in the series. Well, a follow-up on that Lionel 246 that arrived about 2 hours ago now. Anyway, as you can see, I've repaired the broken shell, and what I did was this was a large gaping hole here. So I put a piece of tape behind it and folded it over to form a straight line at the bottom, and then filled this full of 5-minute epoxy, and waiting for it to fully cure. It'll be full 24 hours before it's really, really hard. And then I will just finish off the bottom with a small Swiss file, and it will be virtually invisible, as you can tell. So anyway, the hole is gone, and this Lionel is running actually quite well. So I'll take this around. As you can see, so was it worth $8.50? The light's working, the shell is repaired. I'm going to add a front coupler to it, so I'm not going to replace the pilot. It's much easier to mount that front coupler without the pilot on it. And I've got it running in reverse now, so it will be a fairly decent switcher once it's finished. As you can see, it's pulling this with no problem at all. 50% power. So it looks okay. It runs well, and best of all, it was absolutely dirt cheap, $8.50. So really difficult to beat that. Like I said, I only buy Lionel when I can get them cheap. But now that the body is repaired, you really cannot tell this was ever broken. And like I said, I'll add a front coupler. So I'm going to take a file and file off the remnants of that broken pilot to make that nice and flat. And I can just bore a hole right here and mount a coupler, very likely with a screw and a small spacer to make it the right height above the track. And I will have a fairly decent switcher that was absolutely dirt cheap. So as you can see, the repair is done, and it actually doesn't look bad. And once this is finished and it's filed flat across the bottom to match the contour, you'll never know that this shell was actually broken. So anyway, I just wanted to do a quick follow-up video. As I always stress, don't overlook the junk. This thing's been here a couple of hours now, and I poured that epoxy, let it cure for about, I don't know, 20 minutes before I actually did anything to it. So it has to cure the full 24 hours, and then I will finish off the bottom, like I said, with a small Swiss file, and it will be virtually invisible, an invisible repair. So it doesn't look bad. The nice thing about it, of course, is the fact that it runs well, and it was really, really cheap. And headlight is working. That was just a loose ground wire. So once this is cleaned up, I'm going to put the front coupler on it. This is going to be a great switcher. Definitely inexpensive. Nice thing about it, of course, is that it's running. It's running actually quite well. And it's pulling these 6 passenger cars with absolutely no problem at all, as you can see. That's running actually really, really well. And I still haven't done anything to it. It's just that it had been sitting for, hard to say how long. Somebody had oiled it, but there's no telling when. But as you see, it runs nice. It looks okay now. The repair is done, and tomorrow I'll finish it up. And like I said, that will be virtually an invisible repair. You'll never know it's there unless you look for it. It was simple, easy to do. A piece of tape and some 5-minute epoxy. And by tomorrow, that epoxy will be hard as glass. It will actually be harder than the plastic itself. I'll finish it off, and it will actually be a nearly invisible repair. From a foot away, you can't see it now. So anyway, I just want to do a quick follow-up video on this. Lionel 246, $8.50. Running just absolutely perfectly. And a bit more cleanup and installing that front coupler. This is going to be a really decent switcher, and I'll do a video when I get that front coupler installed. I may do it today. We will see. But anyway, I just want to do a quick follow-up on that repair to the shell. It was fairly straightforward. It's not difficult to do it. It's just time-consuming. You have to put some energy into it. But as you can see, that hole is gone. And once this is resprayed, this is actually going to be an invisible repair. You really can't tell. And even close up, you really can't tell. It's shiny, but that's from the new paint. And that was a huge hole. It was broken all the way up to the bottom of the cab. That big piece of plastic missing. And as you can see, it is solid. It is almost invisible. And once the locomotive is resprayed, it will be virtually invisible unless you go looking for it. But just to see it from a foot away, you would never know that that was actually broken. It looks fairly decent. So anyway, it's running well. Just want to do a follow-up video so you can see this thing running. Like I said, I'm going to mount that front coupler on it. It'll make a really decent switcher for $8.50. I mean, you just can't beat that. This thing's running just perfectly. And even though it's far from perfect, it was inexpensive. And as I always stress, you can do this on an absolute shoestring budget. And you may have to put some work into them, but in this case, it took about 20 minutes to actually do that. Most of the time was waiting for the epoxy to cure. But it was really, really simple. One piece of tape, pour the epoxy, let it set, and then tomorrow when it's completely cured, I'll just finish off the bottom with a Swiss needle file, give it a nice crisp new edge, and you'll never know that this locomotive was broken. So just want to do a quick video. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, BENZTRAINZ@gmail.com, and as always, thank you for watching.